Hello, Director Wang. Thank you so much for talking to me about your film, The Hotel, today. I watched it and it was not what I was expecting. I didn't know what to make of the film at first, but then as I started to go on with it, I was very intrigued.
好，那王导，我之前呢看到您的这个电影，那一开始看之前的时候呢，我完全没有想到这是个什么样的电影，我就一直往下看嘛。然后看到最后的话呢，会有感觉，哦，原来是这样子，我没有想到是您为什么会创造一个这样子的电影呢？
这个我很高兴，就是说在看一个相对比较简单的电影还被吸引进去啊，这是我非常高兴的一点。我们创作这个电影是非常临时的，因为确实我们在这个当时疫情发生的时候，我们这群人也真的是被在那里就是叫封闭住了。然后因为我们对未来也不知道会发生什么，因此我们在相对过了几个月的非常无聊的生活之后，我们决定做点什么，于是就决定创造一部电影。因为聚在那里的人都是演员、编剧啊什么的，我们就利用我们的优势，临时拍了这部电影。
Well, first of all, I'm very happy that you feel you watch my movie and it interests you to see it to the end, and that makes me very happy. And for the second point, actually, it wasn't this film was made like out of nowhere. It wasn't planned. It was because that we were in a country where all of directors, our members, we came from different places, but we eventually gathered in the country, like coincidentally, and we were stranded there for quite some time. And the third reason is because during that period of time, we were stranded in Thai, and we don't know what's going to happen. We have been staying in the country for several months, feeling boring, don't know what to do, not sure about our future. So then we decided just to make something, just to make a film, just to do something for us or for whatever reason. So, and because of the risk, because all of us who were strength and Thai, we have our own opportunity, we have our own strengths. Like we have directors, we have screenwriters, we have actors, we pretty much have everyone we need for a film. So eventually we have this film.
So the film, as you said, that you had everything there, and I guess that explains why the film is pretty, what you would say as bare bones, because there's no score, there's no music to it. It's shot in black and white. It's very stark and it feels very vacant. The hotel that you stayed in, like I noticed there was no pictures on the wall and there weren't any like excessive decorations. Like we just had like the curtains and the chairs and lamps and that was it.
我就是想要其实我们住那个酒店也确实是这样的，正好它那个酒店的这个墙和门和这个关系那种黑白的结构非常清晰，所以我认为这个很美。所以呢，我们首先把它定义为黑白，另外呢，就黑白会让我们觉得我们不知道身处哪个时代，因为现在当下都是很彩色的感觉，所以我想用黑白来表示我们那个时候突然处在一个大家都不知道我们身处什么样的时代的感觉。就是一种混乱感。
Well, yeah, actually, that's the hotel that we had been staying, pretty much like the same that you have seen in the film. So if you notice carefully, you notice that the wall, the door, it was all black and white, and I personally think that's really beautiful. So that's the first reason I decided to make a film that is black and white. And the second reason is because we are living in an era that we don't know where we are, we don't know where we're heading to. So by shooting a film in black and white, that gives you a feeling of not knowing where you are, what you're going to do. It gives you that sense of confusion.
就是不知道自己身处哪个世界。
It's like we don't know what times are we in.
Right. That explains, because when the film started, it gave me a very surreal, almost fairy tale feeling, almost like the main character, Sova, played by Yuan Wan, she woke up and it was like she's in this dream and you're wondering, is this even real? And then as you realize it's real, but it didn't feel realistic. And I think that's kind of like, you capture perfectly like how the pandemic was for like many of us. Like once lockdown began, and like I remember the first day I woke up after the official lockdown was announced here in Toronto, I woke up and I just thought, wait, we can't go outside. So I think you capture that sense of surrealness very accurately.
你这个发现和说的就是非常的好，非常对。就是，我们经常在遇到的这次的 pandemic 大流行的时候，实际上我们好多人都不敢相信这是真的吗？怎么可能会是这样？而且它扩展到全世界的时候，整个地球的人都在受影响。这个真的是我们这些人在生活在当下现实里面，觉得它非常不现实的一点啊。所以这个东西就是，那么这个索娃的这个似梦非梦，到底是真实还是梦，恰恰就是我们当下人的很多的内心深处的感受。
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. You have catch the main point, the essence of the film. And because all of us, we are living in the pandemic, and most of us, I would say pretty much all of us, we couldn't believe what we are living in, what era we are living in. And it's not just only one or a few person. It has been expanded to globally, to everyone living on the world. And it just gives the feeling that everything seems so unreal. We couldn't believe what is happening. It's actually the reality. And you also mentioned that Sova, in her dreams, it seems like she's going to wake up, but it seems she's hard to wake up. It seems like it's exactly like what happened. We all of us has been experiencing. The pandemic seems like a dream to us, but actually it's not just a dream. It's the reality.
Yeah, it's been going on. This is going to be 3 years, and we're still learning how to cope with it. Like, there's the sense of normalcy. We're here having this discussion at TIFF. But I walked here and I was wearing a mask, and things are very different for us, and we are adjusting, but we're still trying to figure out how to keep adjusting because it's not over, right? And that's something I think you get really well in the film because there's this whole thing with Sova, and then there's these two other women who are staying there, and they're both married, but one is her mom and one is this other lady who's there. And the thing that's interesting that caught me with Sova, she doesn't leave the hotel. Those two other women leave, and they're the ones who are most worried about getting sick. But they know if they have to go out for supplies, if they need to go to the doctor, they leave. But Sova stays in, and she kind of does a self-imposed isolation. She's surrounded by people, they're not many, but she still self-imposes her own isolation because she doesn't talk to anyone.
就是索娃这个角色，我觉得恰恰是我们很多人。年轻人或者很多人内心的一种不相信和那种想要跟他做斗争的这种内心的激情，就是不愿意相信这一切会成为让我们生活变得困难的，让我没有办法正常生活的这个现实。他想要冲破这个，就像有些人说戴口罩，我不想戴口罩，我要自由，像这样的道理是一样的。另外呢，像这个。就说我们像这个 pandemic 这个事情的发生，对我们的冲击力有多大呢？就是刚刚开始的时候，有一些科学的专家说，这个 pandemic 可能会持续1年，这对我们当时就已经是完全就不能接受。结果没想到3年，人们还在这个恐慌这个事情之中，那。特别是中国，那么还将持续，不知道多长时间才能结束。这就像一场噩梦，想醒来，这就像索娃想要突破的这个梦境一样。
Well, yeah, exactly. And our main character, Sova, she actually should represent the younger generation living in the current society, like our young generation. They couldn't believe what is happening. They choose not to believe what is happening, although that's the reality. They choose not to believe. They choose not to let down by all the fact that all of the things that is going on. They are eager for an outbreak. They're eager for something to get through the whole situation. However, it's like, although you don't believe what it is, you try not to believe what it is. You don't wear a mask because you want your freedom. But that's just not the case. You have to do whatever you have to just to protect yourself, protect from the pandemic. So actually the same idea applies. And then second point, since the development of the pandemic, it actually has many influences on all of us. Initially, the scientists have been telling us that as estimated, the pandemic probably was gonna going on for 1 year. At that point, we couldn't believe it. We don't believe it's gonna be 1 year something for 1 year. But at this point, it has been 3 years, and it's still going on. So the public, although we couldn't accept it, but it's just a reality. We are still living in the pandemic. We are still living in panic, especially in China. This is even more a big issue. It's just like Sova's nightmare. We tried to wake up, but just we couldn't.
Yeah, it's kind of like a waking nightmare in a sense. And the thing with Sova in particular, like, I think the pandemic isolated a lot of people, especially people who are living alone or people who had to work from home. But then, like, for me, I work from home. I do everything from home. But my sister still had to go to work until they started work from home, and I was very isolated at home. I was at home by myself, but I had social media. I had people to keep me company on social media. So I realized Sova doesn't do that. She doesn't ever once pick up her phone to contact any of her friends back home in China. She doesn't go on social media to contact anyone. She doesn't do any Zoom calls. Can you tell me about that? So because I got the feeling she has no friends, and it was just like, she's 19, how does she not have any friends?
这个就是在这个索娃的角色一开始就是说，他到了曼谷，他到了清迈，都以没有朋友的这个身份和状态出现的。因为在我的这个刚开始的这个病情，大家突然之间被打散，他突然之间就是离开了，就是比如所有的同学，所有的这个关系。我们曾经很短的时间想要，我们中国人叫云喝酒哈，大家就是创造一个新的联系的方式，但是发现在疫情之下，很快人们就失去了这个兴趣，因为人们最后都回到了自己，所以我觉得疫情这个事情让人们更多的思考生命和自己，而不是还在那里大家一块碰杯喝酒，所以这就是可能索娃的一个精神状态。所以他说。在剧里他说我还回美国吗？我还要回到过去那个生活吗？这是不可能的，所以它是一种对这样的排斥和愤怒和反抗。
Actually, Sova, she as soon as she arrived in Bangkok and Chiang Mai, she was actually have no friends. She was there pretty much alone. She was stranded there because of pandemic. She was forced to leave her original country and stay in Thai. So actually, there was once that we thought about having like a gathering like online. Although we have that idea, but we noticed that our friends lose interest of having this like online meeting quickly, since everyone is more eager to go back to their self, focus on their own things. And I would say that the meaning of the pandemic is that it makes people to think about our own life and ourselves. I believe that it is what Sova she is experiencing in the film. That represents her state of mind. In the film, she also asked her mom that, am I still going back to US? When am I going back to US? But actually that's not gonna happen because of the pandemic. Nothing's gonna be normal as it was previously. It is kind of her way to express her anger, the rebellion to the society, to the current situation.
So as you said, like, she kind of, I guess she had to reevaluate like who the people that were mattering to her most. So like she didn't connect to any friends back in the US or even to China, because she was like, these ones, like their relationships kind of broke down, and so she realized I don't need to reach out to them. But there is someone in the hotel. There's Adam, who is a young man, I guess like just maybe a couple years older than her. And then there's this teacher, Yufang. And she has this interesting relationship. So Yufang, that ending. Yufang is like much older than her. He's a professor. Adam is more closer to her age, and she's kind of like going between these two men. And it seems like she's playing a cat and mouse game with them. She's flirting, but then she's still pushing them away because she's a young girl, but she's 19. But she's in this situation where if she was on the outside, she wouldn't be there. So can you tell me about like when you guys were creating the story and the script, like how you decided to come up with these two particular characters and their interactions with her?
其实索娃这个角色很重要，就是在于刚才说的，他对这个世界的是一种反动，就是这个世界已经进入到非正常状态了，他们所在一个旅馆里，到处都是疫情，所以你用正常的一种 态度来对待这个世界，好像自己就非常的虚弱，他就变成必须要一个很反叛的东西来对抗它，所以他可能是到了这个地方切断了跟没有兴趣，切断了跟外围的所有联系，但他在这样的一个身处的世界里，他要打破规则，他想打破所有的传统，他可以一个少女本来应该是读书的时候，她应该是享受正常恋爱的，她却在这个时候游戏人生，所以这个都是一些现在目前的这个非正常的社会形态下的一种人的这种应激反应。
Well, actually, Sova, she plays a very important role in the film. She kind of represents the rebalance to the world, to the society, to the pandemic. It is her, but however, although she has this strong attitude to fight against of everything that has been going on, but she is so weak. She just couldn't do anything that is strong enough to break out. So she need to do something that's really crazy just to try to break out the cycle she has been in. But however, she doesn't have any other available resources or any other means that she can use to break down the tradition, to break down whatever has been set there. She was at the age she should be going to school. She should be enjoying a romantic relationship with someone. However, she's strangled in Thai, and she is doing nothing like a young girl like her she would do in the film. I would say that her way of responding, her way of doing things in the film, kind of represent our individual acute response to the world against what we have been experiencing now.
So in saying that, something just occurred to me. So when I was watching the film, I thought it was interesting that the hotel is very vacant. It's very, like, as I said at the beginning, bare bones. It feels like the way how you have it set up, it feels very empty. But there's this tension and this angst that exists strictly from the performance of the actors. I think they all did a fantastic job just conveying all those emotions. And I think it helps because as having been in that situation and having lived in that situation, that's one of the things I would say about possibly the pandemic that's going to help a lot of actors. Like if there's any films set in the pandemic, they know intimately exactly what to convey with the story. And so I think that's one of the most unique things about the pandemic, is that it is something that we can all relate to. And if you say, if a director like who says, bring forth the angst of being caught indoors, and saying, they can say, yeah, I've been there, I can feel it. So how was it directing that with Yuan and the other actors, just like being able to keep them in character, but then also I guess that if they have to struggle with not getting too caught up in the realistic emotions, if you get what I mean.
好长的。
他的意思就是说呢，就是我当时看你这个电影的时候呢，我觉得一个非常明显的特点就是酒店非常的空旷，然后没有很多就是过多的一些装饰，而且是一个黑白的画面。它其实是给到我们一种就真的是好像身处在一个远离于其他人，自己很独立、很孤单的一个疫情中间的一个状态。那所以的我想，不管是任何人看到这部电影，我们都能够感觉到这种感觉，因为我们大家都是处在同一个疫情之下。那我想问一下，那对于在您指导的过程当中呢，有没有曾经试过有些演员他们没有办法就是进入到他们的角色？我们希望，比如说您希望他们进入到角色，去表现出一种很无助的、很孤立的那种在疫情期间的那种感觉，有没有曾经试过？有些哪些演员他没有办法进入到那个状态，就是不能够带出你想要的那种感觉呢？
我倒就没有发现这些演员有特别表现出他们没有办法进入的因为其实我们给他设定的都是每个人有一个背景，有一个身份，他有一个位置，他实际上可能要表现的只是在这个身份和位置上他应该做的。问题是，也可能他们自己有很多的这种没有办法进入，但是他极力的表现出不让我看到，有可能是这样，因为每个人的状况不一样。
Well, I personally didn't think that had ever been an issue. Like for all the characters in my film, each of them they have their own characters, they have their own background, they have their own identification, they have their own social status. So I would say if they do have a problem like not being able to get into the environment to bring out what I want them to bring out, I would say probably they do have something they're not sure, but just they're so good at pretending or hiding their uncertainty. I just couldn't tell.
And so there's the thing. One of the underlying themes of this film is secrets. There's many secrets, and you don't realize how many secrets are being kept until the very end. And can you tell me? I don't want to spoil it, but that ending had me. I kind of felt where it was going, and then at the end it was like, I hope this is a dream, because that would be devastating. So when you were writing the script, what was the reaction when you said this is how we're gonna end it, and this is the ultimate, this is the culmination of this entire story? What was the reaction from everyone and for the actors when they read the script?
就在读这个剧本的时候，写这个剧本的时候，实际上演员是知道我们可能会走到这样的一个结果去的。但是呢，我知道有可能这个 ending 会冒犯到很多人，这个我也可以想象。但是呢，我是想要大胆的去触碰这个最后的结尾，是因为这个世界已经脱离我们的常规到这样的程度了。那么在封闭在这样的一群内心非常的不确定和挣扎的人，不小心发生了这样违背伦理的事情，又有什么不可以呢？所以我是觉得可能会冒犯一些人，但是我也想把这样的疯狂和现在当下这个世界的疯狂，做一个暗示，做一个象征。
Well, yeah. Actually, while we were writing the script, they kind of know that what the ending is gonna be like, and I do know that the ending of this film is probably kind of offensive to probably some many people. But I wanted to boldly to bring out an ending of the film that to let our audience know that this world is going crazy. It's beyond its normal limitation. It's like, 'cause people, all of us are struggling living, and in the film, the main characters, they have something, they have their own relationship. Like they got into these troubles, got into this weird relationship accidentally. But why would be a problem? We are living in a world that is out of control. Why would that not be able to happen, right? It's everything is possible compared to what is happening now. So I would say that I would like to use that as a metaphor, the ending as a metaphor, just to suggest that we are living in a crazy world.
Crazy indeed, because in the lead up to the revelation, there's a scene with Sova, and I think Yuan was great in that scene where she's like, I don't know who I am anymore. And she's like, am I the virus? Am I the pandemic? And it was a hard thing to hear, because like not only is she young, but like as you said, like it's a crazy time, and like people are like they don't know who they are. Like there's another theme is identity. People trying to figure out who they are, and like versus their sexual identity, and then there's like who they are as husbands and wives, who they are as daughters and mothers, and who they are as like there's a relationship between Andang and the man that he looks after, so like caretaker and patient. So there's all of these underlying themes of identity and secrets, but then like Sova, she's like, I don't know who I am, like, and so I think she's kind of like a representation for all of those people, where they're in their heads are saying I don't know who I am, but she's the one who verbalizes it.
是的，谢谢你这么一番解释，实际上是。这就是我说的，确实我们经历了这个特殊的这个疫情，让我们每个人跟从前都不一样了。我们思考更多的是自己，或者思考这个社会应该怎么面对这样的灾难。所以我们从现实的角度来讲，我是更希望我们要用科学的态度来面对它。恐惧是在的，失望和绝望都是在的，但是希望也要在。那么 在这里面就说到我们这些人，你先说前面这个。
Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the explanation. That's exactly what I want to bring out to our audience. And because since we are living in this very special times, the pandemic, all of us has become someone that we don't know anymore. And we're struggling to figure out who we are, and what we're going to do. And at the same time, we're also trying to figure. We are thinking, what should we do? How should we better prepare for ourselves, and how to adjust to the current situation? And thirdly, the main point of my film is that I would like to bring out the message to all our audience that we need to deal with all these crazy things scientifically. We need to deal with it with reason, right? It's true that we have devastation, we are lost, we are disappointed, there are disappointments, but we couldn't lose hope.
这样的话，就在我所经历的这几年，那么我看到，比如说，我们人毕竟是这个社会，毕竟要继续下去，生活还是要正常下去。那么，现在我们看到的很多的地方，欧洲、美洲什么，大家都还是有疫情，但是在争取我们人和人之间是正常的，争取我们人还是能够回到从前，都在争取这么做。但是我呢也知道，就是说，比如说我们在中国呢，目前的中国大陆会经历一些，就是，他把病毒看成了比我们人的正常生活还要重要，甚至让我们的每个人都互相看成了是病毒，就是好像是一种脱离了正常的我们的生活轨道非常的远，所以这是我担心的一点。就是我希望就是不要把我们每个人，或甚至我们每个人在那个地方都成了自己都觉得是个带病毒的人，这是我的有过的体会，所以这也是后来就当时所娃的这个一个体会，就是那我就是病毒，就是你们把我看成病毒，没有看成人了，这个我觉得是一个非常不好的一个现象。
Recently, our society, and although with all of these crazy things going on, our society needs to move on, and we still need to live our lives. And I've been to many countries in the U.S., in Europe. Although the pandemic is still going on, but I can see that the government, the people over there, they're trying very hard to lead a normal life, a new normal life, and still hoping to get back to the life that we used to have. However, back in China, it's just not the case. I would say that in China, the Chinese people in China, they're experiencing they're experiencing something that's weird to all of us. It's like the virus is more important than all of our life. We need to do it seriously, and it's more important than get back to our normal life, to get back to our social life. So it's like in the interaction between people, it's like people are treating other person like virus. Even myself, I have the feeling that I'm a virus carrier. That's why Sova in the film has said that I'm a virus. I actually do have the feeling in my real life. I think that the pandemic in China, specifically in China, it has dragged us away from our normal life. We are thinking too much about the virus, but not giving too much thought about our own life, how to lead a better life. So I personally think that is really bad atmosphere.
Do you think it's because people? Do you think it's because for one thing, the virus is very unpredictable? Because I've had it twice. I've had COVID twice. And I have long COVID symptoms, but you think it's because it's such an unpredictable virus, you don't know how it will affect you personally. One person might be fine, and then the other person might have a serious complications to it. So do you think, with regards into Chinese society, that's one of the main fears? And can you tell me if they discuss long COVID symptoms in the media? Because I find here they don't really talk about it. They just say, if you get a mild virus, it's mild, and don't really talk about the long-lasting complications. So
他意思就是说呢，那我想问一下呢，你刚才说的这个意思是说，是因为这个病毒很难预测吗？你不知道什么时候自己会得，什么时候其他人会得，得了以后他会有多长的时间，这个症状会很长时间。像我本人，我得了2次新冠，然后这2次体会我都觉得是。我的后来的我的那个后遗症的，我觉得时间非常的长。那我还有个感觉呢，就是我觉得好像在这里的，因为我知道你写的故事是在中国嘛，中国的一个社会，可是在这边呢，我感觉好像这边的人他都不怎么提到这些自己有没有得病，自己得病以后是一个什么样的症状，有一些什么样的感觉，这是我觉得比较好奇的。那我想问一下，在中国也是这个样子情况吗？人们会提到自己得了新冠吗？他们会说自己的症状怎么样？还有以及刚才的第一个问题，就是您刚才说那个。为什么你会有那样子的感想？是因为这个病毒无法预测吗？
我觉得病毒对这个现在目前这个病毒，我又不是科学家，但是确实对全人类它是很新的，大家都从它的发生到现在一直在研究它和追踪它。这个我不好说，它到底是人和病毒的关系，到底是什么样的关系，我是不好说，我也不敢预测说病毒没有事儿，说病毒没有危险。但只是呢，就是说，在目前我所能看到的，比如说在中国内部的和在外部的这个2个大的区分里面，对病毒的这个态度，就是处在一个不一样的，并不是说对病毒有多少了解，而是对它的态度。那么呢，现在目前到今年的话呢，中国对病毒还是就是非常的恐惧，然后呢。一定要消灭病毒，这样的话呢，实际上这样的过程中会影响到很普通的一些生活，很正常的生活。具体的不知道什么结论，我只是看到这个现状，而且非常难解释，所以我只能说到这儿。
Well, as I'm not a scientist, I couldn't tell or I couldn't see that what this virus gonna be like. I couldn't say for sure that the virus is okay. It's not like a big issue because it's a novel like virus, right? We're still trying to battle with it. We're still trying to figure out how to get over with it. I couldn't tell you I'm not here to tell you about the relationship between human and the virus because I'm not a scientist. I couldn't give you a specific answer for that. But what I'm trying to express my idea in the film is that since I've been living in China and I could see that there's a totally different attitude from the authority how to deal with the current situation, the pandemic. Like back in China, the Chinese authority, it's like they fear about the pandemic, they fear about the virus so much to the point that we couldn't live our normal life anymore. Like if the authority is so determined to destroy or to clear the virus, but that's just hard to happen, and it's to the point that it has negatively impacted all of our life. We couldn't do our normal life anymore. So I actually don't have a conclusion for that. It's just something I've been observed. So that's all I can tell you about.
就是在今年，至少你看到了，有很多像包括电影节线下的举办，然后航行都相对是在可控的情况下，在注意的情况下，都相对自由了。这个已经是在争取回到我们疫情前的这个生活，包括经济。也要尽量少受它的影响，这是人的一个大活动所决定的。所以呢，就是现在我们作为中国人，特别期望和盼望，就是会更加怀念，就是那个时候至少，想去哪里去哪里，航行或者飞行、迁徙是自由的那个时候，就是，会有这样的一点点，就是这种愿望的这种，基本的愿望，就成了我们一个最大的愿望。那么同时希望经济，因为人的活动一旦被锁住之后，那经济的发展、经济的交流就不会很好。这个对，从我们中国人，我是希望，不要因为病毒使得一切都改变和停滞。
As I live in China, so I could see that the pandemic has a lot of negative influence on us, and it's like we couldn't go back to how we lived before. We couldn't go back to how we lived previously. Like we couldn't just adjust a simple wish. We just wanted to be able to travel to another country, to another city. based on our own will, but it seems like it has become a wish. It's not a need that could be fulfilled anymore. And like for other countries other than in China, especially in the North America, the Europe countries, like although the TIFF, even the TIFF we're talking about, we're having the TIFF events now, and everything is still going on. Although with precaution, with all the everything we can do to control, to limit virus contamination, but everything's still going on. You can see that everything is going back to normal, although slightly and slowly, but at least it's moving forward. And it's very important for our economy as well. Like it's just we are living in a world that we are connected economically, like in many aspects. We just couldn't let down by the virus because of the pandemic, right? As a Chinese, I really wish that this could be totally like turned around. It's just not a good thing to just scare ourselves too much before the virus did catch us, right? And we couldn't just because of pandemic, because of the virus, we couldn't do anything that we need to do. It's just a basic human need.
There was a scene in the film that everything that you're saying kind of made me think about, because it's where Sova is swimming in the pool and the wife of the teacher is in it, but she gets out. And at first you think she's getting out because she's jealous or insecure of Sova. But then I kind of saw it as not that. I kind of saw it as like, it's just the two of them in the pool, but the reason she got it is because she's so scared and she's so concerned about the virus, and she's so concerned about getting sick. And she's gotten to the point where she's shunning other people, and even being in a swimming pool is with another person, like that seems like it's just too close, almost like she's being like, almost like you're surrounded by like there's no one around, but she still feels claustrophobic. And I think to me that was one of the scenes that really brings home what you're talking about how Chinese people and other people around the world are feeling about the pandemic, about getting back to normal. Swimming in a pool is normal, but it's not, because she can't react to being in a pool the way she would have before the pandemic.
其实你提的一个问题也让我思考，就是你提得很好。他这个于教授的这个太太，实际上在游泳池里碰到他所出来这种表现，我觉得两种都有，一种是嫉妒心，因为嫉妒而讨厌这个年轻的女孩。当然还有一部分，他因为这样的一种无厘头的嫉妒，可能会更加折射出他的人格的背景。那他的人格背后的背景，可能就是对于这个事物的这种无限的恐惧、无限的放大、非理性的这种你像他跟于老师之间的这种争端，都是基于他的这个背后他的人格的组成。所以这两者使得他既夸张的对事物的这种判断和恐惧，同时也产生了嫉妒心。
Well, actually, you have asked a very good question. Your question makes me think about the character again. Like the professor, his wife that the main character you just mentioned about, I would say that she got out of the pool simply because of two reasons. The first reason is that she was being jealous about Sova, right? The second reason is that she has been doing things like without a valid reason. That actually brings out her main character, like her own natural trait. Like she is fear of something that you shouldn't be feared about. She is seeing things that you couldn't feel the same way with her. Like, so that's actually the reason she has been acting how she has been acting in the film. Like you can tell from how the interaction between herself and Professor Yu, and why they would have such many conflicts. And it's to the point that it's just too much. You can't bear with the actual vegans.
Yeah, she was an interesting character because it would be very easy for people to say that you're writing her as a nagging wife. But I think to me, like apart from Sova, she's also the deepest character because she has a husband that she's distrustful of, but then she wants to hold on to her marriage. But then she's also a woman in a society where women are given very particular roles, and she's saying, I'm caught in this situation where I can't express who I want, and everything that she's saying is taken as being a criticism. and she's like, well, if you're going to criticize me for just expressing my concern, I might as well continue doing what I'm doing. So for her, what would you want the audience to not misunderstand about her? Because I think she's a character that if people aren't being careful, they can misunderstand what she is. But I think I see her as being more than meets the eye, as you were saying.
这个就是比较我也想知道的一点，就是说，像于教授和他的太太的这种关于这个他们的工作和他们的关系，以及关于中国他们的生活的这个现状，他们那种对话，我不知道这个作为你们观众，会不会了解？
Well, actually, that's the question I would like to ask you. Due to the nature of their work, their relationship, the way how they get along, actually, as an audience, how do you think about it? What do you think?
对，这是我想问的哈，就是那么，其实在我身处的现在这个中国的时代，确实是有很多的人，甚至很多的夫妻，很多的关系很近的人，因为对一个事情、对社会的一些看法不同，造成了一些矛盾。
Well, and in the world I'm living in Chinese, the China I'm living now, I actually have been observed that there are quite a bunch of people. Their close relationship are impacted by their own opinion to the society.
因为这是这个近10-20年开始的，但之前的因为改革开放或者中国的改革开放之前，都是这个声音并没有被放出来，大家还是在统一的一个思想之下。那么后来改革开放慢慢的有各种的思潮出来之后，使得就这些人很多的中国的知识分子开始有了不同的思考，甚至出现了不同的声音。所以因此有一些个别人有决定自己去独立去判断，但是也有很多人因为长久被历史的这个过去的这种宣传所覆盖，那么他就不太容易去独立去思考一些东西，这在中国现在发生了。
In the recent 10 to 20 years, as the reform and opening China, there are many new thoughts that has been emerging. Over the 20 years, for many people who are educated, they started to think about they started to think about themselves. They started to think about their own relationship, and they started to express their opinions on their own thought. Also, there are people they started to take actions to decide what they want to do, how they want to live their life. But at the same time, there are the rest of people. They decided they were so influenced, they were so brainwashed by the tradition. They just they dare not to change a bit. They didn't even have the courage to think or to reconsider about themselves.
Yeah. I think the film challenges a lot of expectations of people, especially of women, young girls, like around like Sofa's age, and I would even say gender identity, because like we have a very frank discussion about if a character is gay or not, and I think that is showing a very progressive identity of China that people outside of China may not have. Like, you know, a lot of people may still think that China is very strict, very patriarchal and very traditional. But your film does express a lot of progressive ideas and progressive thoughts, and I think that's a really good way to do it, because like the film and I think that you were saying earlier before, like the pandemic has forced a lot of people to think about who they are, where they want to go, and the film is kind of like touching on that, where it's saying like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to progress as a society? But how are we going to progress individually? And for the wife, I hope she finds happiness. I'm like, you go girl, go seek your happiness. And I love that she's the one who left. You know, she's not the wife who was left. She's the wife who got to leave, which I think was amazing. I'm like, yeah, she's like, she wants better for herself.
对，简单的说就是说， 其实在这个最近这个一段时间之前，中国社会的发展，很多特别是年轻人的发展，他们已经是和这个外部的世界是很接轨的。他们经历的就现代化的一切的变化，所以他们的思想、他们的认知、他们的信息已经很丰富了啊。所以索娃才有这样的很直接的，就是跟这个小男孩之间的关系，她很大胆。女性她不像传统里面好像很害羞，她很勇敢。另外，她也直接可以问出那样的问题。其实这是代表了当下中国的这个社会的状况。唯一的我们现在所要观察的和所担心的，就是在这次的这个疫情在未来继续这么下去，那么中国会什么样？这些本来已经非常勇敢和开放的这些年轻人会走向哪里？这个是需要我挺需要观察。
Well, yeah. Actually, back in China, the younger generations, they're growing up in a world in an era that was filled up with many information, and it's quite consistent to what everything is going on, like the outside world. I mean, by outside world, I mean that is a word different from outside of China. Mm-hmm. And actually, what the younger generation back in China, they have been perceived. They perceived the information they received, the way they perceive who they are, and it has been changed drastically over the years. So, like in the film, Sova, she's pretty straightforward. She is brave about her relationship with the young boy. Like she is brave to express her affection, right? And she doesn't feel shy a bit to ask any question, whatever she wanted to ask. It kind of represents how it is back in China now. The younger generation, that's who they are. That's how they act. But there's only one problem. The only one problem in the film is that in the future, with the pandemic going on, like with all those crazy things going on, what would China become? What is gonna happen to China? What is it gonna become? And how would our younger generations heading to? That's the question.
Yeah, because the film is over ending, so you kind of like leave it as a question first.
Yeah, a big question.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking with me,
Thank
Dr.
you for your
Wang.
question, so good.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.